So we do have Leena Srivastava here today in the German Development Institute. Leena, thank you very much for being here. Leena is one of the important global thinking persons in the field of sustainable development. You are heading TERI, one of the important institutions in the field of sustainability research. So today we are discussing here at the German Development Institute about sustainable development globally. Would you argue that India is an important driver of global change in the era of green transformation? Where does India stand actually?
Well, India is definitely a major driver for global transformation. India has both huge challenges and huge opportunities that are available to it. And I think India is taking a number of steps towards a green transformation, although not under a full rubric of green transformation. Many areas that it is covering include green buildings. The construction sector in India is going to increase or experience a rate of growth of almost 10 to 12% a year. So green construction is going to be an extremely important part of India's green economy transformation. And that is receiving a tremendous amount of focus. Many government policies and measures that have been put in place to ensure that buildings are green, buildings are energy efficient, and are optimal in terms of their resource efficiency in general. There's also a great degree of focus on reducing the footprint of the transportation systems. India is a country where the current ownership of vehicles is pretty low, but the rate of growth of vehicular growth is pretty high. It's also starting from a low base. But there are many investments that are being made and active programs to encourage city governments to put in place, mass transit systems. That will cater to a large part of the growing demand for mobility. I think in Delhi itself, we have seen the metro system come in place. It has taken off a lot of load from the roads, but we have very many cities where such investments still have to come in. And I think India will be looking for ways and means by which we can increase investments in efficient public transport systems. There's also been a major focus on low carbon development pathways in general. And I think there are a number of measures that have been put in place to increase the share of renewables in total energy supply. We have this national solar mission that talks about setting up 22,000 megawatts of capacity based on solar generation by the year 2022. That's a major target that we have set for ourselves. The wind energy sector has been popular for quite some time now. There's a major focus on energy efficiency, definitely in the manufacturing sector, but across the entire economy. And I think there's also a fair degree of emphasis on integrated systems in energy as well. So a number of activities that are taking place, these are not necessarily all well knit together, but I think over a period of time, these will form the elements on which an overall strategy will come in place.
Leena, you are always emphasizing the social dimensions of sustainable development, because many people are focusing much more on the pure green elements, environmental policies as sustainable development. You argue that without social development, there is no sustainable development. Why?
Well, we have almost 70 to 80% of our people in India that are still extremely poor, that are still living either in rural areas or in urban slums, that do not have access to a number of environmental services and resources. So, but we continue to have a lot of the resources of the country being absorbed by the top 20% of our population. So this kind of development would obviously lead to an increase in the income disparities and the well-being disparities that exist between the richer parts of India and the poorer parts of India. And that is unsustainable from a social point of view. It is unethical, from a developmental perspective. And, in the long term, it will obviously lead to a huge social cost that the country may not be able to bear. So I think it is also in the self-interest of the more developed parts of the country to ensure that, the developing parts are better taken care of than what we are doing currently. If we have about 800 odd million people who have aspirations which are similar to the rest of the country, the balance 20%, or indeed to the rest of the Western world in particular, and we are not able to meet those aspirations, then I think it will lead to a great degree of social instability.
Okay. Leena, the German government is currently rethinking its India strategy because India is changing so fast. From the sustainability perspective, which kind of priority for the cooperation between our two countries would you like to see emerge?
Well, I would definitely like to see a much higher degree of German investments in some of the kinds of areas that we spoke about, but much beyond that as well. Transportation systems is definitely one where I think there's a lot of investment that can come in. But equally important to investments is also capacity building and skills development. Especially when we talk about the access agenda, whether it is energy access, whether it is water access, whether it is access to health services, especially in rural Indias, we will need a very large base of entrepreneurs who will be able to help in the delivery of services, who will form a very critical part of the entire supply chain for the delivery of services into the rural areas, into the currently uncovered areas of the country. And building those capacities at that level is going to be very important. It's also going to be important to build these capacities in our academic systems as well, because we can no longer afford to be purely discipline oriented in our teaching and in our learning processes. So apart from building the whole cadre of in terms of numbers of faculty, I think it is also necessary to have a very different approach to the education system. And I think this is where I won't say that Germany can teach India, but I think Germany and India can learn together on how we need to transform these systems.
Okay, thank you very much, Leena, for your reflections on sustainable development.
Thank you.